G'day there. Welcome to the Alpha Wave Trader week ahead. I thought with the end of the month and the quarter rolling over on the weekend, it'd be a good idea to just do a recap and also have a look at the monthly charts in the S&P 500 because things have moved along. The monthly buy pivot has been confirmed, so that has just forced me to reassess things a little. And I'll just take you through the charts to show you exactly where we are and what to expect. Over the weekend on Sunday we had news out of China. Purchasing Managers Index was released and the figures were quite strong. They've been stimulating things over there, of course, as they always do when things start to soften off. And we are seeing some signs of a rebound, and that could feed into our market today. I'm recording this before the open on the Monday, and with the US markets closing with a monthly buy pivot, there is just a risk now with the daily, weekly and monthly charts pointing up, but the quarterly still pointing down, but that the market could have an attempted rally here for a bit longer. So I'm going to wait until we see like a weekly sell pivot before really getting excited on the downside from here. So just to recap things for you. So here's the quarterly chart of the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And we know this one well. This chart goes back to 1997. You can see the sell pivots over and over again on the quarterly chart, and the quarterly chart being 3 months of trading within each bar. So it just smooths out the chart, gets rid of a lot of noise. And here we are with the latest quarterly sell pivot, one of only 5 over the last 20 odd years, and we are currently rallying up into what I call the sell zone, the top section of that candle, which is where prices often find good resistance, as they did in the past, over and over again. It's one of sort of the cornerstones of my approach, where I look for an edge, is the move that occurs after these sell pivots occur. And basically where it's sitting right now is the spot where I believe there's great opportunity, but being a quarterly chart, this can take a long time to play out, and you have to drill down into the shorter term charts to look for your opportunity. And right at the moment, those shorter term charts are now pointing up, as you can imagine, after that huge rally we've seen over the last quarter. But we still have this quarterly sell pivot in play until we get the close above the high, the all-time high pretty much. On a quarterly basis, that'll be the case. So prices could even shoot above that high and fail in this quarter and still be heading down. So things can take a long time to play out. So we just have to respect those shorter term charts to make decisions. So let's have a look at those. The biggest shift since I last spoke to you is the close on Friday, which was back above the high of the lowest price candle in this move on the monthly. So we've had this monthly sell pivot here. We had the rally back up into the guts of that candle in the next month, and then we had the next key bar down, which is a close below the low of that sell pivot candle. So that was the second, the first key bar, I guess you could say, in the move. And instead of carrying on, we are seeing a monthly buy pivot here. And, we do have a very strong uptrend, of course, over the last however many years, 10 years. So it looks like the Fed really has nipped things in the bud now. And that data in China on the weekend may mean the stimulus there is starting to take hold. So with a monthly buy pivot now, in direction of this really long-term trend, that forces me to pause for thought for a little bit and see how this plays out. Because if this trend does continue, breaking out above those highs, as I was saying just before, who knows? It could just have the quick false break, but also it could be off to the races. And you've got to go with, that really strong upside momentum. And if the Fed's change of stance at the start of the year really has just shifted everything, you see how the bonds are reacting, a huge rally in those bonds. So it is a shifting dynamic in the world, with bond prices rallying so strongly and yields dropping so hard. Those yield-based stocks will be rallying, as you'd expect. So there are reasons why some stocks would be continuing to move to the upside here. And the softening in world growth may be finding some sort of base, especially if China is turning back up. So with the monthly chart now confirming the monthly buy pivot, you really need to see, the monthly sell pivot will definitely get me pretty excited, as long as that quarterly sell pivot remains. But going into the shorter term, I'd wait for the weekly sell pivot now before getting too excited. So let's have a look at that. So just looking at the weekly, we can see a good, strong, steady trend. This is the low in December. This whole sell-off here, big, sharp sell-off, and I've got the sell zone of that here, which may still prove to be very important. You can see prices there touching the top of the sell zone exactly, and then having quite a sharp sell-off. But we do have pretty strong upward momentum here, and if we just analyze the weekly chart and just look at the key bars, so we've got the weekly buy pivot there, and the key bar is when it closes above the high of that bar. So there's one there. Then it needs to close above the high of that bar for the next key bar, which is there. That one's not a key bar, and we can just follow along. That's a key bar there. And then we've got another key bar here, and following along there, the bars that you're going to make calculations off. And so 2 weeks ago, we had another key bar, which was this one here. We can make calculations off that using the distribution idea that I have, and hopefully you understand by now, with the midpoint of that range, very important. And we've got the buy and sell zones of the range there, and the 25% outside being super important, and the 618 outside is very important too in those ranges. So they're all the key areas, and you can see all the trading since that key bar there a couple of weeks ago. We saw prices rally to that 25%, get rejected. Then we've sold off and hit the midpoint exactly, and the buying pressure was there right at the midpoint. So that's showing you how strong the rally is, that it only managed to get to that midpoint. And then we've actually closed back above the high of that bar. So we've actually got a new key bar in the move last week on that close. So this weekly trend is continuing and is very strong. So just respecting that for now, I would need to see the weekly sell pivot to get excited. So that has the high of the move there, which is also, the top of the sell zone of this whole wave down. So it's a pretty exciting spot. It's this area is where markets can turn down from, and at the very least, have a balancing up move back towards the midpoint, which is down around 2650. Oh, that's a lovely looking arrow there for you. But so this area on the big picture should see some pretty big selling pressure, but we have very strong upside momentum at the moment. And having that weekly key bar created last week, also the monthly buy pivot created, and the daily charts also are, of course, pointing up. They'd have to be with that rally. And if we just have a quick look at them. So on the daily, we do have the daily uptrend. So the 10-day exponential above the 20-day simple. So that daily uptrend, very strong and continuing. We got you can ignore that black sell pivot diamond there. That's just a quirk of the program. It's not a sell pivot. So the most recent pivot is a buy pivot on the daily. And again, Friday night, we've got the rally. So it is still pointing up on the daily. But we do have a bit of a line in the sand now, with prices right up in this zone, which is so exciting. This whole area really so exciting for a potential for markets to turn back down and have quite a sizable move. As I said, even a balancing up move to 2650 will be a couple of hundred points. But we need to see prices really head back below that 2800 area now. And that will probably confirm also potential for the weekly sell pivot. But just right here, we can actually see an attempted rally in this spot. And if we do take out that high from a few weeks ago, there will be an attempted blast up into this final area below that all-time high. And if things really get going, well, it could start to really trend. So you do just have to be careful here based on the close of that monthly. And for me, the first point where I'll really start to get excited on the downside is sort of back below that 2800 area. And there's a lot of dominoes below there. That's where the gamma of the market actually does increase for the dealers. They're going to have to start selling with the market as the market falls. We've got the 200-day moving average there. It really can accelerate quickly if it can get back below 2800 in the short term. And I'd expect a few dominoes to start falling, and we could see that quick move back to 2650. But with that strong close on Friday, creating that monthly, and the data out of China on Sunday, the way the charts are looking just right here, right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see a real attempted rally and stop out session over this next few days. So we'll see how that pans out. I'll come back with more next week. Cheers.